We live? What's going on, guys? Sorry. Give me some response in the chat. Can you guys live? Let's fucking go. All right. Sorry, I'm not a professional podcaster. This is my first time going live. There they are. I see all the yos pouring in. This is cool as hell. We should do every single episode live. All right. Well, this is how I usually kick off Money Matters. You guys ready? I give the producer a clap. Yo, welcome back to another episode of Mailbag Monday by the Money Matters podcast. Unfortunately, this is going to break your guys' heart. I know we're all excited, but I got no dollar bill and I got no Dylan. Dollar Bill is celebrating his wife's birthday, aka my stepmother's birthday. So happy birthday, Brooke. I love you to death, and I hope you guys are having a good time. Dollar Bill, you got to appreciate Dollar Bill. I know he's got a huge fan base out there. Dollar Bill is retired. And so when Dollar Bill's wife's birthday comes around, Dollar Bill goes and celebrates his wife's birthday, and I respect that. And so Dollar Bill is out celebrating and eating some cake, and Dylan is on vacation on a beach. So you've just got me, and hopefully that's enough. Here's what we're going to do. I was like, fuck it. We're going to go live. We're going to do it with a chat. You guys can ask me any questions you want, because Bitcoin is breaking all-time highs. We got MicroStrategy up, I think, 25% in a day. I am the founder and CEO of Strike, probably the biggest global Bitcoin-only company in the world. So you guys can ask me any questions about Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, macroeconomics, Strike, my company, whatever you want. I'm here to hang out. I actually just got back in town, so I'm home. I feel good. I'm fresh out the shower. My hair's still wet. All right. I've got a few questions you guys asked me, but first, let me just give a state of the union on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I'm going to get a live price because this thing's been ripping the face off the planet. As I'm live to you guys right now, I got Bitcoin trading at $88,103. It's up over 1% on the hour, over 10% on the day, and over 30% on the week. Let me tell you something. For everything in life, with more demand, you will find more supply. If everyone in the world wants an iPhone, Apple can make more supply and give everyone an iPhone. If everyone in the world wants a McDonald's cheeseburger, McDonald's will make sure they find a way to make every single customer a cheeseburger. The only thing where that's not true is Bitcoin. If everyone in the world wants a Bitcoin, we cannot engineer more Bitcoins. It's the only fixed supply, the only truly scarce thing in the world. Bitcoin can change the world because the world cannot change Bitcoin. The world can change iPhones. The world can change hamburgers. The world can change stocks. The world can change real estate. The world can change the dollar. The world cannot change Bitcoin. It is the only scarce engineered asset in the history of our species. So therefore, Bitcoin's the only thing in the world where more demand has to find a higher price. If you want more Bitcoin, you have to get it out of the market, not out of the ground, not out of a fryer, not out of Apple's headquarters. You have to get it from the market, from those that have it. And so if you want more Bitcoin, you got to bid it to a higher price. So that is what we're seeing. Bitcoin is the most performant asset in the world because it's the scarcest asset in the world. It's the only asset that demands higher price for more supply. That's what we're seeing, period. And for all the people that are like, well, Bitcoin, you know what it is? It's just correlated to the stock market. It's just correlated to the election. No, Bitcoin is not a hedge. Everything else in the world outside of Bitcoin, precious metals like gold, are correlated to earnings, to cash flows, to performance, to quarterly reports. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is a solution. It is not a hedge. Bitcoin is a solution. It is not a hedge. Bitcoin, when you look at Bitcoin, it's the best reflection of currency debasement. It's the most performant reflection of currency debasement. That's all it is. And so Bitcoin is not a hedge. Bitcoin is a solution. Bitcoin is the only scarce thing you can own, period. Your time and your Bitcoin. Everything else you can make more of. That's it. That's it. That's why the only two things I value are my life and my Bitcoins. Nothing else matters to me because you can always make more of them. That's my State of the Union. This should surprise none of our listeners. We've been saying get long, get paid. This is a story of dollar debasement. Bitcoin's going to be the fastest horse. I get on and debate Peter Schiff, and he's talking about how gold's outperforming Bitcoin. All you got to do is take a nap worth a weekend, and you wake up, and all of a sudden that's not true. So listen, markets wait for no one. They're violent. They're not fair. They're honest. They're not fair. They're honest. You wake up one day and you're either long or you're not. You either got paid or you didn't. That's what it is. And with that, I would love to go on Rogan. Here's a little alpha for you guys. At one point in the last cycle, I almost did go on Rogan, but it didn't happen. So maybe one day it'll happen. This is so cool. I got to go live. Why don't we do every episode live? If you guys are enjoying this and the live interaction, I would love to do it all the time. Because this is so cool that you guys can talk to me while I'm talking. All right, I've got some questions pulled up, and so I will just start with those, but I'm here to hang. For those listening that maybe aren't on YouTube, what I'm referencing is the YouTube chat. I'm reading the YouTube chat. So if you want to talk to me live, hop into YouTube, and you can talk to me here. If you're listening on podcast feeds or on Twitter or on somewhere else, I apologize. I'm a rookie to the game. I admit that. Hey, look, an honest man raises his hand when he's wrong. I don't know how to do this podcast stuff. I'm a rookie to the game, and I love you guys for bearing with me. And so I'm just doing YouTube today. I'll get better every week. A good man gets better every day he wakes up. And so next week I'll be better if we keep with the live. Okay. The most popular question by far is MicroStrategy. And what's Saylor doing? How's he doing it? Do you believe in it? And is Strike going to go public? How do you guys think about the public markets? Let me give you my thoughts on MicroStrategy. First of all, what Saylor's doing is genius, but it's simple. He's borrowing the currency that only goes down and buying the currency that only goes up. He's borrowing the currency that they can make unlimited of in dollars, and he's exchanging it for the currency that no one can make any more of in Bitcoins. That is genius because you're taking out a fixed amount of debt and the thing that's being devalued, debased, it's going to be worth less. And you're converting it into a thing that's appreciating, that's deflationary, that's averaging 60+% year over year over the last 10 years. That's up over 100% over the last 12 months. So that is genius. That's very simply put, the smartest thing anyone can do. The smartest thing you could have done over the last 15 years is take dollars and put it into Bitcoin. At any point, now we're at all-time highs. At any point over the last 15 years, the smartest thing you could have done ever is take dollars and put it into Bitcoin, period. And so Saylor's doing that. Now, what's unique about what Saylor's doing? Saylor is selling you leveraged Bitcoin. Let me explain. Here's the product Saylor sells you. You have $100,000, let's say. I'm just picking a round number. Whatever, $10, $1, $10,000, $100,000. Say you have $100,000. What Saylor is saying is if you give me your $100,000 in the form of buying MSTR, I will get you more sats, more Bitcoin than if you do it yourself. This is Saylor's Bitcoin yield, sats per share. What he's doing is he's engineering you more sats per share. So if you buy MSTR, he's saying, I will get you more sats in the underlying, how a share is correlated to Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I will get you more sats than if you were to do it yourself. Now, the trade-off is very obvious. You've got counterparty risk with Saylor. You've got counterparty risk with the stock market. You've got counterparty risk with the US government. I told you guys, I prefer my sats on ice. I prefer my sats in cold storage. The price I put on my own self-sovereignty and on counterparty risk, I just don't mess with it. I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to trust anyone else outside of myself. That's just where I'm at. But the product that Saylor sells is extremely valuable, is that if you give me the money, I'll get you more Bitcoin. That's incredibly valuable product. And in that way, MSTR is like 150% exposure to Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, MSTR should go even further higher. when Bitcoin goes down, MSTR is going to perform even worse. But that's the product is Saylor selling is if you really like Bitcoin and you trust me and you trust the stock market and you trust the government and you trust that tax is going to be fair, all of the levels of counterparty risk and trust. If you do that and you really like Bitcoin, I'll get you the most Bitcoin and I'll be the most performant. And that's the product he's selling. And also for that reason, I do not think that anyone can compete with MicroStrategy because listen, if Microsoft buys Bitcoin, Microsoft is not going to be 150% Bitcoin. Microsoft is going to be 2% Bitcoin, 98% Microsoft software. Now, that's probably a more interesting stock to own over time than just 100% Microsoft software plus bonds, but they're not going to be 150% exposure to Bitcoin, right? You know the only thing that's going to go up more than Bitcoin? 101% exposure to Bitcoin. The only thing more than 101% exposure to Bitcoin, 102% exposure to Bitcoin. The only thing more than 102, 103. And so Saylor's at 150. In order to get more than Saylor, you'd have to go more than all in. You'd have to take on debt, right? You'd have to say, screw my operating company. Screw whatever our actual business is. It doesn't matter. I'm all in Bitcoin at a massive scale. So I think Saylor's very unique and he's won this market entirely. I think it's over personally in the sense that you'd have to have a company that has an operating company that, as Saylor described it, was going to die. In 2020, Saylor said this was a rescue effort to save his business, is that his company was going to fail. And so what he did to save it is say, screw the company, we're going all in on Bitcoin. And then for 4 years, built a position of 1% of the total issuance of Bitcoin. And so now he has something that's 150% long with a $70 billion market cap. So let me put it to you this way. Any other company, like little tiny startup that wants to go public and do the MicroStrategy strategy, what Wall Street investor listening to this podcast is going to say, I'm going to give my $100,000 to another company and not Saylor. Saylor's going to get you more Bitcoin per share. He's going to get you more sats. Again, the product he's selling you is I'm the best in the world at getting you sats. You give me the money, I get you the most sats. So every other company, there's some company, Semler Scientific or something. It's great that they're doing a Bitcoin strategy. That's awesome. But they're not performant like Saylor. Their market cap's not going up like Saylor. They're not getting the returns like Saylor. Why? Because Saylor gets you the most sats. So he has a $70 billion company. So he could do things like the largest public equities offering in the history of the US stock market. No company is going to compete with that. The only companies big enough to compete with that are the PayPals, the Microsoft, these big businesses, but they're not going to go 150% Bitcoin. They're not going to compromise and sacrifice their existing operating company. So Saylor's won. It's over. And so when people say, well, why doesn't Strike go public and do it? That's not what we're good at and how we win. I'm not like Saylor. Like I personally think until I'm proven wrong, Saylor will be the best at getting you the most sats per share. And Saylor will, because he's the only person in the world that's achieved this at scale with an operating company that he cares more about Bitcoin than his operating company. Zuckerberg can become a Bitcoiner, but that's not going to be true about Facebook for a really long time. Microsoft can buy Bitcoin, but that's not going to be true for a really long time. So who's going to have more than 150%? And so that's what's happening. And so when Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy is going to go up more. And again, Saylor's growing. So he defines growth as how much, sorry, my phone's going off. Saylor defines growth as how much Bitcoin dividend, he calls it, sats per share, he's able to return to you. And so the markets are going to start pricing him like a growth company. If this thing is going up 100% a year and he's growing his ability to do sats per share, and people are upset that there's a multiple on the business, what do you price that at? Saylor's the best in the world at getting you sats, which is the best performing asset in the history of humanity. What's that worth? The free market's going to figure that out. I don't know the answer. But Saylor, in my opinion, is a genius. He's a friend. He's been a godsend to Bitcoin. And I don't think he's going to face any competition. I literally don't. I don't. If the US government buys Bitcoin, great. They're not going to be better. There's not going to be a better equity in the market available to the American public at getting you sats. If some startups go public, good for them. Are they going to start winning the capital? Are the BlackRocks and the capital groups and the Vanguards going to start taking money out of MSTR and putting it into Semler Scientific? No. Sailor's built a behemoth of a capital base to be better than everyone. The only people that can compete with them are the Microsofts of the world, and they're not going to go 150%, and they're going to lose. So Sailor's won, in my opinion. Sailor's won. I think he's got the network effect, the economies of scale. That's my opinion on MicroStrategy. For a business like Strike, like, listen, our operating company is a monster, growing a ton, very cash flow positive. We have a big Bitcoin treasury as well. I have a also good relationship with Dorsey. Dorsey's a very good buddy of mine. And, there's a lot of dangers in going public, and that, the share price dictates the culture internally. People are compensated in shares and in equity and in stock options. And when the market's so volatile, you got people coming and going, quitting and leaving. It slows you down. If I want to really launch products really quick and go global and really be there for Bitcoiners, I would prefer not to run a public business. Public businesses are slower. They're bigger. There's a lot more that goes into them. And so for me, it's been pretty obvious, is like in the US capital markets. So I think what Dylan LeClaire is doing in Japan is great. You take the strategy and you put it in another market, you can win. You want to compete with Sailor in the US? I don't think you're going to win. And so for us, it's like, let's just be the best company here for Bitcoiners. We're bullish Bitcoiners. We think every single day there's going to be more Bitcoiners birthed. More people are going to get orange pilled. And we want to be there for them. And so far, that's been being a private company. I control everything. I call the shots. We build faster than anyone else in the world. And it allows me to be there for you guys at the end of the day. And, we'll go public someday, maybe. But it's not something I really think about too much, because I don't think there's some massive opportunity where I can copy Michael Saylor and borrow $100 billion and buy Bitcoin. All of that's bullshit and not true. And I think Saylor is a genius, and he's won. He's got 4 years of proof of work running the strategy in the market. It's too late to catch him. All right. What else do you guys have? I've got a list of questions, but that was a long rant, and I hope I answered your questions. But if I didn't, you can just keep dropping them in the chat. I've got a list, but I'll give you guys a second to kind of catch up and ask me questions. Also, this hat. I saw you guys talking about this hat. I got two things. One, I'm not bald. People are like, oh, you wear a hat every single day. This guy's hiding his hairline. He's going bald. No, I'm not yet. I eat a lot of steak. I stack a lot of sats. That keeps hair on the head. The second thing, this hat is made by Skylar. Shout out to Skylar. I don't know where he sells them, but I will make sure that we share a link at some point. It's the Bitcoin American hat, fire hat. Skylar is one of the best designers in the Bitcoin space. He designed this hat. He's a legend. I really like the guy. And so shout out Skylar. That's where I got the hat. And if you guys can't find it through Googling and searching on the internet based on what I said, I will follow up with a link. Okay. Another question. Do I think a nation state is buying Bitcoin right now? That is another popular question. Probably. Probably. I mean, listen, the buying activity we are seeing in the Bitcoin market is substantial. You're talking about an asset class that is now worth well over $1 trillion. Actually, let me tell you exactly how much Bitcoin's worth. Bitcoin sits at $1.7 trillion market cap. So in order to move this market, you can't convince your dad to go download Strike and buy Bitcoin. In order to move this market, you got to have some real size, some real capital. And the fact that Bitcoin's gone so big. Now, just so everyone knows, I know this is simple math, but it's math. And sometimes the simple questions are the best questions. It doesn't take another $1 trillion to move of capital, of buying, to move the market $1 trillion, right? When you've got something as scarce as Bitcoin, it doesn't take a lot of money to move it substantially, meaning it could take $2 billion to move Bitcoin $200 billion in market cap because there's not a lot of people selling, right? But nonetheless, You cannot move this market now with a bunch of retail friends at the pub. You used to be back in the day. We used to be able to move this market with a bunch of people at our Bitcoin meetups, but that's not true anymore. That was true 12 years ago. So today it's a lot of institutional buying. I think the Bitcoin ETFs hit almost $7 billion of 24-hour volume today. And so we know Wall Street is here, but it does to me look like there is some substantial size and pool of capital that is buying Bitcoin. And just think about the game theory, to be totally honest with you. Listen, this has been true for 15 years. You're better off on Bitcoin's team than not. I'm going to say that again. You are better off on Bitcoin's team than not, period. Whether you're a country, a president, a CEO, a corporation, an individual, a mistress, whoever you are, you're better off on Bitcoin's team. And so I think the game theory is realizing itself in that way. And that's, part of the game theory in which Satoshi designed this thing. It's true today. It's very, very true after Trump won the election. Trump's been very public about his stance on Bitcoin, his relationship with the SEC, the idea of a strategic reserve. This is all very public. And so if you're a country or any large pool of capital, listen, the total value of assets in the world is like $900 trillion or something absolutely asinine. There's a lot of wealth that's better off on Bitcoin's team than not. And so people, we know in markets and in economics, decisions are made at the margins, right? The water diamond paradox. Are you guys familiar with that? Is water is way more valuable to you than diamonds, right? If I were to say to you, I can grant you unlimited diamonds for the rest of your life, but no access to water ever, or unlimited water for the rest of your life, but you'll never have access to any diamonds, what would you pick? You'd pick water, of course, because if you had unlimited access to diamonds and no water, you'd die. So water is more valuable than diamonds. However, if you walk into a Cartier store, diamonds are a lot more expensive than if you walk into the gas station and get a bottle of water. That doesn't make any sense, right? But they're making decisions at the margins, right? At the margins. And so every single day, pools of capital have to wake up and make a decision at the margin. I own a house. I own bonds. I own currency. I own stocks. Is it better off in Bitcoin? And that's a decision at the margin that every single person has to wake up, $900 trillion worth of wealth has to wake up and decide. And over the last 15 years, the answer has been unequivocally, yes, it's better off in Bitcoin. And so do I think that nation states and governments are waking up and asking themselves that question? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do I think that maybe one of them has decided to say, you know what, let's actually start to roll into Bitcoin a little bit? Very possible. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, like the orders of magnitude, the level of importance of the United States saying we have a lot of debt. We've made a lot of promises about our future that people are beginning to question. Let me put it to you that way, because sometimes people talk debt to GDP and all these numbers and all these macro words confuses people. At the end of the day, the United States has made the most promises about their future. That's what debt is, right? Trust me, I'm good on it later. And we've made so many promises about our future that people are starting to question if they can continue to trust us. Like, man, that's a lot of promises on your future. What proof do we have, or what's backing these promises? How do I know that you're actually going to be made whole on all these promises you're making about tomorrow? And the fact that the US government is saying one of the ways we want people to potentially buy in to the promises on our future of the country is by building a reserve of Bitcoin. I can't even state to you the level of importance in the order, like how massive that is for both our country and for Bitcoin. That is our strategy being built in front of our eyes, is saying we're a country built on future promises as the world reserve currency, on debt. And people are starting to question the promises we are making to our allies, to other countries, to our peers, to the public, to our people. And in order to instill confidence in the people, that we hear their feedback, we know there's been a wane in trust and in confidence in us. In order to reassure them that we believe in growth, equality, technology, hard money, hard assets, we're going to start backing our promises with Bitcoins. That's massive. And the game theory that sets off is unfathomable. And so do I think that message is now loud and clear and resonates and well understood globally? Yeah, 100%. I mean, wake up, CNBC talking about world reserve Bitcoin stockpile. So I don't know, if I were a smaller country or any other country for that matter, would I front run Trump? Yeah. I think the United States is the only nation in the world where we elect someone, but then they don't get started right away. It's bizarre. It's like, Trump, you win. See you in January. What? And so, weirdly, financial markets have to price that. So you're starting to see markets move, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Trump can't start buying Bitcoin for a little while. So there's some inefficiencies in the market there. Are other people going to buy Bitcoin and front run? I know I am, I'll tell you that much. Cool. So let me know if you guys have any more questions about strategic reserve stuff. It's very exciting. It's very fun. Obviously, I think the United States should do it. Oh, let me go on a quick rant about that, actually. I've done it before on the podcast, but it's always worth repeating. Let me tell you something. I think that the United States building a Bitcoin strategic reserve is the biggest economic announcement to come out of the United States of America probably since 1971. And if you think about how important it is, the levels of magnitude of that type of announcement, it's the most positive, potentially the only positive economic announcement made in the last 100 years. Think about all of the times the United States have made an economic announcement, whether it's 2008, bailing out big banks, whether it's in 1971, confiscating gold. This announcement, removing ourselves from the gold standard, which is effectively debasing the currency, a hidden tax. It's against the people. It's against the populace. It's against the best interest of the public. That's every single financial announcement by the United States of America has been against the best interest of the public. This is the first announcement of this level of magnitude. It's that important. We're talking about building a position in the scarcest asset in human history equivalent to our position in gold. We're talking about taking excess reserves from our Fed banks and building a position in Bitcoin. This announcement is of the magnitude of 1971, of 2008, but it's positive. Think about that for a second. This announcement is not confiscating your stuff. This announcement is not debasing your time and energy, your effort, your labor. This announcement isn't bailing out criminals on Wall Street. This announcement is about progress, about innovation, about technology, about inclusion, about equality, about growth. This is empowering of the people, empowering of the country. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. The land of the free and the home of the brave. A brave country that prioritizes freedom, equality, principles, morals, ethics, does something like this. So it's an announcement and it's a strategy in economics and finance that's as big as 1971, as 2008, but as positive as the very foundings of this country. Bitcoin's the most American money ever. So that's what I think about us building a strategic reserve. Lead from the front. Land of the free, home of the brave. We're supposed to protect democracy and freedom globally. Promote Bitcoin. You want to do that with peace? You want to do that with guns? You want to do that with war? or you want to do that with peace, with technology, with open source software. Choose your way, Western man, right? So that's my opinion. This is the most American thing we could be doing. And this is